Greetings, Kindred. I'm Voivode Maquette. This is our World of Darkness, and the 5th installment of the recap for my LARP, Fort Myers by Night, City of Palms. And, this session was a doozy. I don't even really know where to begin. It's still happening, by the way. The session's over. But there are so many little intricate, scenes that are running on our Discord that are just continuing the ridiculous shit of what happened. And it was quite ridiculous. First off, I guess we should just start with the beginning of everything, and that's the location this time around, because what we do, we have a central location, like a prime Elysium, a main Elysium, that the Kindred tend to meet at during downtime sessions. We have a hotel in Fort Myers called the Luminary Hotel, and I found that to be hilariously appropriate. Because the 5th level of your status in the tabletop books is called Luminary. So I went ahead and I marked down the Luminary Hotel as something that the Prince owns, and all of our downtime actions that take place in a group. I've got my Discord open right here, so I'll just tell you exactly how the Fort Myers Discord is set up. Discord, first off, is also being run by the player of my Seneschal, who is part of the storytelling staff, Lore. So we have first off, we have a rules and information session. This is going to be me going over our Discord. Cool. We have a rules and information section on the Discord, and that has ST announcements, which are all out-of-character announcements. If there is a change to the venue or rules or anything, everything gets posted there so that people can see what they are. There is our player consent form, which was actually... I've talked about this before in the past. Our consent form was given to us by one of the players that I run for Tabletop. She actually attends the LARP once every season because she lives so far away. But it's really cool. If you guys want, I'll go ahead and I'll link that. I'll go ahead and I'll link that in the description. I don't know why I said why if you guys want. We have our house rules and mechanics section, and there are a couple things on here. I'm trying to go as canon material as possible. But there are a couple of things that have been changed for this game to just make things run a little smoother. First off, the Salubri Bane, instead of it doing what it does in the book, what we decided to do in Fort Myers by Night is whenever a Salubri loses a rouse check, they bleed a little bit. It stops a whole bunch of questions and stuff like that, and it also makes it happen less, but it makes it happen more, if that makes any sense. It's not something that doesn't come up, but it's something that could not come up, I guess. I'll just put it that way. In our game, the unbondable merit, the 5-point unbondable merit, is capped. When we first announced that we were doing this game and character sheets started coming in, that was the most common thing that was on people's sheet. So we are just not allowing unbondable anymore. We have a custom-made playable option in this game, which are revenants, which are just a heightened version of the way that ghouls are run. And if anybody wants anything about that, I'll be happy to do a video specifically going over all the details on what ghouls and revenants do in my LARP, just so it's out there. We have custom rules for downtime scenes and the way that XP works if you retire or a character dies or something like that. So there's that. There's also player resources, where I have basically every character sheet and anything that Vinite Studios has put out, or links to Mr. Gon's character sheets. And then after that, any video that I post on Laws of the Night goes straight to that. After that, we have our out of character section, which is our general chat. New player questions is on there. What is this? Engaging in canon conversations, rules for that kind of stuff, the way that the downtimes work. We have a just for fun memes section because we live in a meme era, so we included that. We also have an R story in memes, which the week before we do the next section, I tend to gather up and I put inside of a music compilation, which it's in this playlist. I'm sure you've seen it. We have a spot for game photos, which has not been used as often as I wish it had been. We need to hop in on that. Clips and highlights are on there, and then also I allow self-promotion. So if anybody wants to talk about any side hustles that they're doing, I want my players to do well, and therefore I allow it. Now we're in the in-character and roleplay section. We have a spot for character profiles. We have a section on our Discord for premonition. Specifically, any character who has the Auspex level premonition can go onto this. The rules for how premonition work are the first thing posted and pinned to the top, and then anytime there's a psychic anything, we pretty much just grouped it together as a citywide situation, so that myself and the storyteller staff for this game can basically just like write down like a nightly hint for the plot line, and then let the chaos reign supreme. We have the Kindred announcement news, which is something that I came up with for this game. It's the can. If anything's in here, I tell people to check the can. Basically, we have one vampire in the city, W.P. Franklin. He's of Clan Malkavian. He's an NPC of mine. He was the mayor of the city in 1917 in real life. What we have done is just made it so that if there is an in-game announcement that needs to be made, an in-character announcement, we have a drop point in the game where literal letters are given. The vampires have their own mailboxes. To be more specific, I don't know why I'm beating around the bush. We have a set of decommissioned mailboxes from like Civil War era here in Fort Myers, connected to one of the buildings that's in our historic district. And they're there, and they're decorative, and they're pretty. Every vampire in the city who's been accepted gets a key to these decommissioned mailboxes. They're not decommissioned, they're just only used for vampires. Any kind of announcement or anything like that gets written down and put into those things. And then with the way that the summon discipline works in V5, in 5th edition LARP, he basically sends out the, "You got mail." And the Kindred can go and interact and stuff like that. That's how we get big announcements out, where the Elysium's going to be and things like that. We have the Luminary Salon. Luminary Salon is a room in the Luminary Hotel that has been cordoned off, no humans allowed. It is the Elysium that the vampires can just go and relax in. We have the What is this? Oh, St. Andrew's Cross Clinic is another Elysium in town, which is owned by several players. That's why I didn't recognize it at first. But this is it's a safe haven where all vampires can go, and they can take their ghouls and stuff for medical attention without raising eyebrows or authority being brought in. We have a chat room for the city court, which is all the Primogen Council plus the security detail. We have a room specifically for the Primogen, which they barely ever use, but it's a spot where they can go and safely deliberate without even the prince being able to be involved in. We are starting to get to the point where each of the clans are going to have their own Elysiums. We have a place called the Garden for Clan Toreador. We have a spot called the Brujah Bash for Clan Brujah. But it's something that's just... We're trying to give a place for people to talk. We have a spot for the security team. The Cobweb. For those of you who are aware of how Clan Malkavian works, there is the Malkavian Madness Network, or the Cobweb. And what we did on our Discord is we opened up a room on the Discord called the Cobweb that all Malkavians can see. Now, only Malkavians that have a level 2 in that lore sheet can add anything as per the rules of the way Cobweb works, the lore sheet. So all Malkavians have the ability to tap into each other's subconscious through this Discord page. And then it goes downhill from there. It's actually been a massive help. It's a lot of fun. We have a spot for the Lee County Voivode, because we actually have a lot of Clan Zamitzi down here. And then there's also Fort Myers by Night TikToks, which there's only been one made, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. And then after that, we have a spot for downtime actions for every single player. Every person who joins the game gets their own little spot that only they and the storyteller can get into. And that allows us to basically let them do XP buys and stuff like that, and everything's organized. So I guess right now I'm just going to say thank you to Lore for being able to put all this stuff together. It's been very helpful. On to the crazy. So before last session, the discussion came up, which always comes up, is where is the Elysium event going to be held this month? Because we play once a month. And in character, or I should say out of character, we always play at the same place. Unless something pops up that stops us from being able to play there. We usually we play at the Lost World Books retail outlet. It's a bookstore and a kava bar in downtown Fort Myers. It's amazing. Link in the description as always. Just a great place. They let us play there for free, and the only thing that they ask is that we buy drinks from them when we need drinks and stuff. So. Very amazing people, and I want to just say thank you out loud. I don't think they're going to actually see this, but thank you so much for letting us play in your venue. They're just so accepting. And we're a little bit of a spectacle. People actually show up just to watch the vampires gather. But we always, where is the story going to be set is what comes up. And this time around, we decided, per the suggestion of our Ventru Primogen, that we should have our event at the Cape Coral Yacht Club, which does not exist anymore because of the hurricanes that we've been hit by, leveled it. So that conversation came up, and we were talking about, are we going to accept that in our fantasy world that it doesn't exist anymore? And I was like, yeah, no, let's do exactly that. Let's have Elysium. We're going to have a post-apocalyptic themed Elysium where, the Keeper of Elysium is going to go and, put up ABC pop-up tents and stuff like that and Christmas lights and all that junk. And we're basically going to make our presence known in Cape Coral, which came to the question of where exactly does our territory extend to, which brought up a lot of really interesting arguments. There were some people in the game who wanted to keep us, players who wanted to keep us out of Cape Coral, and just have our territory limits, our domains extend to only Fort Myers. So at which point I said, no, until somebody stands up and says, no, I'm the prince or I'm the baron of this area, I'm claiming all of Lee County. So right now we have a fairly large domain, and I've claimed all of Lee County in the name of Prince Abraham Charles Myers, who is the man who this city is named after. So we end up having a lot of arguments about that. We end up going, setting everything up, and everything just went so sideways. We had a couple more new players show up, which was always amazing. We have plot that's starting to go around. In fact, one of the first things that I did is I spoke to one of our players, Tony, I spoke to one of our players who's playing a character named Tony. His real name is not Tony. Anyway, I talked to him about, like, he's one of the Kindred who's been in the city the longest, and he has, like, roots in the transportation, in the shipping industries. And so I basically gave him a little background on things that have been happening in the city long term. After that, I grabbed a couple of people from the clinic, the St. Andrew's Cross Clinic, and told them that there was a delivery of a body that had showed up at the clinic, that it had, like, a set of clothes. It was in a very nice coffin, in a crate, and it was shipped. And the only thing, aside from the basic notes that the body came from Cuba, that it was shipped there from Cuba, it had the person's name, the date, and all that junk. It also had a note on it that said, "Hold for further instructions." So, of course, they start panicking. And they start checking out the body. They ended up doing, like, with the whole... I want you to consider what Tzimisce can do with flesh and stuff. I believe, I could be wrong, because, again, I'm not the only storyteller, and also, once the players are aware of what they have, they are encouraged to go off and do things on their own and run their own scenes. Everybody in the game, every player, from the most experienced to new, are responsible for building their own narratives in Fort Myers by Night. But I ran the first one. I half-assed ran the second one. And I'm pretty sure a third one happened. But I'm pretty sure this body that came in went through 3 autopsies. Nothing really happened with that body. However, I just wanted to say that happened. At one point in the night, there was a situation where several Kindred, and also our principal of the faith, Father Michael, who is a human who has gotten mixed up in the Kindred politics of the city. He's a priest who is now part of the Camarilla court of Fort Myers. They're out in the open under the night sky, just like having an argument which is about to erupt into something a little bit more violent. And they hear, they notice the sound of a buzzing, of a humming, and they realize that, oh my God, there's drones, and they end up running inside. There was so much back and forth, but, like, I don't know how much I can say without ruining plotline when I do these recaps. Anyway, the whole thing exploded as this body became the central point for so many different things, even things that had nothing to do with the body. The HR department of the clinic. I can't believe I just said that. The HR department of the St. Andrew's Cross Clinic are pretty much all Obertus Revenants, which 3 of them are actually player characters, which is why we came up with rules on how Revenants work in the game. But the Obertus Revenants do not trust Father Michael at all. In fact, there's rumor going around that seems to be being started and spread by the Obertus Revenants that he is a member of that the priest is a member of the Order of St. Leopold, and he's a hunter, and he's just gathering information, which, I mean, who the hell knows? That could actually be true. But The whole city seems to like him. Father Michael has become effectively like a group touchstone for the entire city. Not everybody is on board with that, but it seems to be going that way. So they talk Father Michael into going into going to the clinic and administering last rites on this body. They had already gone and spoken to this big, scary Zamitzi who lives in the city, who's an NPC. He's a retired bishop. He quit being Sabbat before the beckoning and the Gehenna War started up. He literally is just done with all the neonate war bullshit. He wants to exist and be left alone. And now these damn dragons will not leave him alone, including their servants, the revenants, which he has no stake over. He doesn't want any of this. But he is interested in the priest. So he told the revenants earlier in the night, I'd like to speak with him. I'd like to have words with this Father Michael. So their idea is to tell Father Michael about the body, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't know everything that's going on with these people. In fact, if you are watching this and you are a member of the Revenant family and you want to clear things up, put it in the comments. I'd like to get a conversation going on that everybody who's in the community can interact with. Anyway, so their idea was, let's tell Father Michael that there's a body that needs last rites, get him in the car, and from what I can understand, drive him to the Zamitzi instead so that they can have a talk. It seemed to be that simple. Or that there was somebody who wanted to have a theological conversation with the priest, and they were just going to take him down there. Basically, it seemed like it was going to be a pretty straightforward, this vampire wants to talk to this priest, please come with us. Puna, our Toreador Primogen, she has latched on to Father Michael so tightly. This is her baby. This is her ward. She wants to keep him safe. And so she also gets excited. She's part of the clinic. She gets excited about the body. And she's very, very morbid. So she ends up like weaseling herself along for the journey. They get there, they see the body, Puna's all excited, the father's like, okay, I'm going to perform these last rites, I need everybody to leave the room. And they go to leave, and they're giving, like, the revenants are giving Puna a tour of the hospital, which is really weird, because from what I understand, she designed it. She designed this hospital. I'm not really sure why it happened, but she had to leave the room anyway, as per Father Michael's request, and they take her away, at which point one of the revenants, a man named, I believe it's Clemeth, sneaks up behind the priest while he's doing last rites and literally chloroforms him, initiating the very first combat that this game has actually seen. So we've been 5 months into the game. This is the 5th session. We've been playing for 6 months, but we couldn't play 1 month because of a hurricane. So, yeah, Clemeth sneaks up behind, chloroform rag, initiating a combat. There's a struggle. There's Father Michael calling for help. Puna fails the awareness check to be able to hear him. There's just too much going on. And I actually got to run a very, very fun combat of effectively a grapple and Father Michael trying to not fall victim to what was going on. These are two humans. This is an incredibly simple fight. And it was a very interesting fight, because what I ended up doing was I was like, you can either A, fight back and try to get loose, or B, try to hold in the breath, which will extend how much time it takes to knock you out based on your stamina. He went back and forth. I did kind of like a 3 and done kind of situation. He tried to fight back. He realized he couldn't. He tried to hold his breath. He ended up failing on that one. He ended up passing out, being put in a car and driven away. At which point Puna had found out what was going on and freaked the hell out and ended up attacking some of the NPC Revenant staff of this clinic. The elder Zamitzi, which we'll just go ahead and call the Voivode. Everybody just calls him the Voivode. He finds out how Father Michael got brought to him, and he is pissed. He already does not like nor trust the Obertus family. He finds the Obertus family smug. The fact that they are the keeper of secrets and the fact that they act like they know everything pisses him off. He's also not a fan of the of Sasha Vikos, who is connected with the Obertus family. So he just doesn't like them as it is already. And then he gives them a simple task, such as, hey, I want to talk to this person, make it happen. If you can do it tonight, that'd be great. And they kidnap a guy. Which, he's used to that kind of shit. But still, he's like, you can't follow simple instructions. And apparently they couldn't follow simple instructions with each other anyway, because there are apparently multiple plans up in the air, and none of them really worked, except for this kidnapping thing, which is going to cause more trouble. This Voivode does not want to start a fight with Abraham Myers, who is a seasoned war veteran. He was part of the Civil War. I'm not going to go into Myers' past, but like he was a general. I think he actually got up to colonel, and he has no desire to get into a fight. So the priest and the Voivode end up actually having a pretty interesting conversation, where he apologized profusely about what the Revenants did. Back at the Elysium, at the Cape Coral Yacht Club crater, is effectively what we're calling it, there was a lot of interesting interactions going on with people. Before the kidnapping happened, as it was, one of our Malkavians ended up giving a gift to Father Michael, and everybody freaked out because she didn't give him the gift. She just kind of left it there on a table with his name on it. And it's a roughly, like, the way that it was described to me was there's a human head, there's a box that's big enough to contain a human head on a table. We want to know if there's a bomb in it. So everybody took it as this is a threat towards Father Michael. They were doing all kinds of discipline-related tests on it. They were smelling it, hearing it, trying to figure out if there was any kind of, like, thaumaturgical radiance coming off of it using Sense the Unseen. It was the funniest damn thing. In the end, it turned out that one of our Malkavians, Blake, who is part of the security team of the city, she actually handles the cybersecurity for the city. She was wandering around and found something she thought would just be a really cute Christmas present for the priest. I'm pretty sure in character, she stole a baby Jesus and a manger scene from a nativity scene. What it actually was she found a really nice little cross, a baby doll, and a crib, and she boxed it up and she gave it to him, which was it was really sweet. In fact, I'll be right back. Okay, anyway, I'm back. The reason I just ran off is because I completely forgot that Blake handed the prince this in character. We had a short conversation about some things, and she's a very welcome member of the city, and I have not been able to get into this. This had a little silver bow. Sadly, it fell off. I don't think I can get the detail on that. Maybe? No, I don't think it's going to pick it up. There's actually a little Clan Malkavian symbol, like wax melted onto this. I have not opened this yet. The prince literally forgot due to the fact that a member of his city council was kidnapped. So let's go ahead and open this in and out of character together. I'm kind of excited about this. But she handed a few of these out. Let's see. Okay. I don't think I can. I don't think I can't read this. Dearest Prince, please take this note. Note as a sign of gratitude for permitting me to use the use of a haven at your facility. I hope to prove myself as useful asset to our budding community. Thank you kindly, Blake. And yeah, so she just wrote a nice little thank you note to the prince, which is very, very sweet. Because the prince, when she came into town, she was like living in a van and basically looking for places to park and just torpor, which is a very dangerous way of living. And the prince gave her temporary asylum in the hotel, gave her a hotel room until she was able to figure things out. So that was very sweet. Thank you to Blake's player. That's very nice. I can't wait to continue this roleplay. What else? Oh, eventually the priest ends up getting loose and getting basically an Uber and taking it back to the Elysium, which was paid for by the Voivode. The Voivode was like, I don't want you in a car with the Revenants. I don't trust them. I'll get you an Uber. In our game, we have uppies instead of Uber. And instead of like, we like to make up fake companies so that we're not just constantly talking about licensed stuff in our game. And instead of Uber, we have Uppies. Instead of FedEx, we have FedUp. It's just a dumb, fun thing, but we have that. Anyway, so he gets an Uppies back to the Elysium, explains what happened to the prince as best as he can, and then I tell the keeper of Elysium, who is a high-ranking member of Clan Zemitzi, because our Zemitzi Primogen, Javier, has a job, and he is sadly not able to, like, out of character has a job that the scheduling conflicts with the game. So sometimes he can show up for like an hour, other times he can. Due to scheduling issues, he might not be the best choice as Primogen. But his player and his character are the best choice for Primogen. So anyway, I tell the keeper, Nicolo, who's a Zemitzi, to gather all of the Revenants and bring them to the Elysium. I then tell our herald, who is oh my god, we have so many damn Nicks in this damn game. Nicholas Salt is our herald. I tell him to gather all the Kindred. Everybody gathers together, and when the Revenants come in, I explain the situation as dramatically as possible about how angry I am at this situation, and I'm like, this is an odd situation because this is not Kindred acting on Kindred. In a way, as weak as these Revenants are, which at this point in time, I want to point out that there are 3 player character Revenants and 4 NPCs. So we have 7 Revenants that have been gathered all together, surrounded by pretty much every vampire in the county. I explained that I opened up an opportunity for these Revenants. I not only spoke with them, but I also opened up my acceptance to them. I gave them the option to be accepted or acknowledged on whether or not they were going to be part of the Camarilla. They chose accepted. I respected that. I allowed one of their numbers, Akif, effectively the leader of the Revenants, to act as whip for Clan Zemitzi. He tried to go for Primogen, but I'm like, if you're not a vampire, you can't lead the clan. However, you can serve the Primogen and basically do what he needs as an assistant. And they broke that trust. Akif has actually been walking the line on trust with the prince as it is, because he's been instigating domain arguments in the past, which really could weaken my standing as prince. And I cannot have that. So he ended up losing his position as whip in between games. But now, with the kidnapping of a member of the city council Father Michael is the principal of faith, which is a new position that was made up for this, and there's no rules for it, so we were just like, screw it, he's a priest, let's have a human on the council. And just funny for the prince, but he kidnapped a member of my council. They are proving untrustworthy and dangerous. They're weaker, but they're also active during the day. These are humans, effectively. So, as prince, my proclamation to deal with this situation was, I'm not going to kill them. I'm not going to retaliate. I'm going to withdraw my acceptance of them in the city. I did the simplest thing that a prince can do in a city, which is also one of the most dangerous. I removed that first level of status. Now, I do believe that all of the revenants only had that first level of status. And typically you don't give status to mortals in any sense of the way. But these revenants, their master was beckoned. It's literally a household, free-floating, no control revenants. And I was allowing them a chance to prove their worth to the council, to the city itself, and they butchered it. I took away that acceptance, and I said that they have no more protection from the prince, that I'm not going to retaliate against any vampire who decides to do anything in retaliation of what they did. And the vampires swarmed. We ended up running our first mass combat, and I did not use the mass combat rules because I really didn't feel like they fit. Mass combat rules in the book are more for if you have like, the Camarilla and the Anarchs, which are both of effectively equal sides, are swarming against each other. I allowed things to play out. We called numbers. We took steps. We described attacks. Before the combat broke out, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I have such a scattered brain after these events because so much stuff happened. The person who actually, Clemeth, who actually chloroformed the priest, I gave him to Puna because Puna has claimed Father Michael as effectively her ward, her personal ward. So I gave Clemeth to. I gave him to Puna because I was like, there's nothing I can do that's going to be more horrible than what Puna can do to him. And she still has him. I'm not exactly sure what she plans on doing with him. I've heard rumors, but it's not anything that I'm wanting to put into this video. She took him. Akif ran. And before I had gathered all the masses, I got my security team together and I told them to watch the doors. And if anybody tried to run, stop them. That they were not going to walk out of here unscathed. Akif ran. Combat ensued. And then another one of the revenants, Nicholas Obertus. Okay, I want to point this out. We have Nicolo Azamitsi, Nicholas Obertus, Nicholas Salt, who's the harpy, and we have Nikolai, who goes by Rasputin, who's the Bruja Primogen. We have too many Nicks in this game. When I relieved my acceptance of the Obertus family, Proudmoore, which is a Bruja who originally wanted to be sheriff but did not quite get the votes, they started attacking straight out, pulled out a weapon and started attacking. This is around the point that myself and the Seneschal realized that the Keeper of Elysium has not put any rules of Elysium in place, nor have they had any way to enforce. Weapons were just being drawn in Elysium and pulled out and used. Proudmoore went to attack. Nicholas, and there's a lot more details to this that I just can't get into because it was a long run combat. Nicholas Obertus pulls out a gun and fires at Proudmoore at one point, and it turns out that this is a special made dragon's breath gun. He's shooting phosphorus rounds. There's a frenzying Brujah in the group now. The combat was ridiculous, long and drawn out. I allowed the player characters to basically take out the NPC Obertus without much fight. They were pretty much used as like block counters during attacks. Like, oh, I'm going after this player character. This NPC is going to block that attack and take the brunt of the damage, that kind of thing. In the end, the combat was ridiculously horrific. It was run well. I'm in character. It was a cluster. And we, as a game, have realized things that we can do to make it run a little bit smoother. Next time that pops up, next time a combat like that pops up, I'll make sure I go into detail on that one. But Nicholas Obertus was eventually apprehended after a hell of a fight. This character has a Marine's background, and he was throwing chops like mad. Like, he was winning every test. It took a lot to bring him down. He was eventually captured, taken to the hospital, and basically treated for his wounds. But there's more to that. Akif was eventually taken, knocked out, thrown into a trunk. And I pretty much just said that Javier, the Tzimisce Primogen, needs to figure out what the hell to do with this, because they are effectively his property now. He is the leader of Clan Tzimisce. They are servants for Clan Tzimisce, and their owner, their master, is nowhere to be found. Therefore, the Primogen has to deal with it. Most of the NPCs, except for one, died. One was shot in the leg fairly early in the combat and was down on the ground and just pretty much overlooked for the most part. When Proudmoore was frenzying, the other Brujah in the room decided that the best idea was to take the other Revenants and just shove them at him so that he could just drain through them and try to calm down. Oops. But the game ended up ending with all of this confusion going on, because we had to leave, because this venue not only locks up the building, but also has to close the big gates, and unfortunately we couldn't do anything about that. So we were running out of time. We had to end the combat relatively quickly. But now I'm dealing with all of these background plots and scenarios that are happening. I had a plot line that was running on Akif escaping being held. The Keeper of Elysium, Nicolo, ended up calling Javier. They ended up meeting in a public place, and while they were there, Akif busts out of the trunk and just runs. Got away. So that's a thing that happened. Nicholas Obertus in the hospital was interrogated by both the Keeper of Elysium, Nicolo, the Prince, and now Javier. And there's stuff going on with that, on what the fate of Javier, or with what the fate of Nicholas Obertus might actually be. There's so much stuff going on, and I'm looking at the Fort Myers by Night. I'm looking at the Fort Myers by Night Discord right now, and the amount of downtime actions which have already been set is crazy. There's so much here to go after. And then there's also the fact, like, after game, we tend to go to, like, Waffle House or Denny's or IHOP or the Ale House, someplace that's open that we can get food and just talk and just enjoy each other's presence. There were already like 100 memes in the Our Story Through Memes channel. Most of them done by Puna's player, by the way. But this community is starting to just get so amazing. I'm having so much fun running this LARP, and I cannot wait for next month. I hate the fact that it's only monthly. We used to run every Wednesday. Like, we used to run a LARP in downtown Fort Myers on a weekly basis. I don't actually know if I could keep up with the story that I'm trying to run on a weekly basis. But I'm really, really looking forward to what's going to happen with this situation, is because it's a very political situation. I was asked a question. I don't want to go into it because the players, I don't want too much information going around before things are solidified. But I was asked, I was sent a message over the Discord by one of the players asking the prince if something could happen. I haven't answered that yet. I sat down with the seneschal and the herald, and we had a conversation in character about it. I'm actually waiting for a response from Courtney Sinclair, our sheriff, to include her in on the details of that and to ask her opinion. I have to ask actual political thoughts from people, because I really don't know what to do with some of this. Courtney answered. I have to do this. I have to have a conversation with the sheriff of Fort Myers right now and ask what their opinion is on this question that I have to have answered. There are so many downtimes that I have to go over. I am Voivode Maquette. This is our World of Darkness, and this has been a recap on the 5th session of the Fort Myers by Night City of Palms LARP, which is using the Mind's Eye Theater rules for Vampire the Masquerade that was put out by Night Studios. And heavy is the head that wears the crown.